In the heart of the Amazon, where light struggles to pierce the endless green, there exists a silence that speaks louder than words. It's the sound of life and death, coexisting in a fragile balance. On the morning of May 1st, 2023, a small plane took off from a remote village in Colombia. Inside were 7 souls, a pilot, a mother, and her 4 children. They were supposed to be in the air for less than 2 hours. But destiny had other plans. Somewhere above that sea of green, the engines failed. A scream, a prayer, a fall, and then silence. Days later, the wreckage was found. The pilot was gone, the mother was gone. But the 4 children had vanished. No bodies, no trace, just tiny, fragile footprints disappearing into the jungle's endless maze. The world waited for answers, but what unfolded over the next 40 days was not just a story of survival. It was a revelation of instinct, courage, and the indestructible force of the human spirit. This is their story, the children of the Amazon. There are stories that live beyond reason, stories that make us question what we think we know about life, death, and the fragile space in between. This is one of those stories. A true mystery, hidden in the green heart of the earth, where the jungle breathes and the human spirit awakens. A small plane flies above the vast Amazon canopy, a world of endless green stretching beyond imagination. Inside, a mother, Magdalena, sits with her 4 children, Leslie, Soleini, Tien, and the infant Christine. Their faces are calm, their hearts are light. The sky hums softly, and below them the forest watches. But destiny has its own path, and sometimes it hides its lessons in tragedy. The engine stutters, a sudden silence, a breath held between heaven and earth. The sky darkens, the wind screams, the mother clutches her children, the plane begins to fall. And in those final seconds, between fear and faith, she whispers words that will echo forever. Stay together, no matter what. The crash is not the end. It is the beginning of something vast, a descent not only into the jungle, but into the soul of existence itself. When the metals stopped screaming and the rain grew quiet, the forest stood still. And from the silence, life stirred again. 4 children, surrounded by death, opened their eyes. The world they knew was gone, replaced by a wilderness that pulsed with its own heartbeat. The jungle did not welcome them, nor did it reject them. It simply was, indifferent, eternal, alive. They were alone, but they were not lost, because deep within, something ancient awoke, a will that exists in every living being, the instinct to survive. Days passed like dreams, marked by hunger, rain, and endless green. They drank water collected from leaves, ate what the forest offered, and moved through a world that seemed to breathe around them. By day, the jungle shimmered with light, a cathedral of sun and shadow. By night, it whispered secrets too old to understand. Every sound carried meaning, every silence carried fear. The eldest, Leslie, became the mind and heart of their fragile tribe. She was 13 years old, but her eyes began to see the world as if she had lived 1,000 lives. She guided her siblings with an invisible strength, a force that came not from logic, but from love. The jungle, too, was watching. It watched them stumble, crawl, and rise. It watched them weep and whisper to the stars. And in its own way, it began to test them. They faced hunger that gnawed at their bones, nights colder than fear, storms that erased all sense of direction. And yet, every morning, they woke again. Every dawn, they chose to continue. The world outside searched for them, soldiers, rescue teams, strangers who prayed and hoped. They found wreckage, bodies, and silence. But the jungle kept its secret. Days turned to weeks, weeks turned to 40 nights, and still the children endured. Hunger turned into hallucination, dreams and reality began to blend. Leslie would sometimes hear her mother's voice, soft and distant, telling her to keep walking. And she obeyed. She followed echoes through the mist, through vines and shadows, through a fear that no longer felt real. Because when everything is taken from you, food, safety, even hope, something else awakens. Something beyond the mind, beyond the body. It is the soul's raw determination, the pure force of existence itself. They saw things others would call impossible. Lights moving through the trees, figures of smoke and memory. The jungle seemed alive with whispers, as if ancient spirits walked beside them, guarding or testing, no one could tell. And then, when all strength seemed gone, life itself offered a sign. A bird, bright red, landed in front of them. It looked at Leslie, motionless, as if waiting. Without knowing why, she followed it, step by step, through mud and thorns and endless green, until she heard it, a sound not of nature, but of man, a voice, a miracle. When the rescuers finally found them, they could not understand what they were seeing. 4 children, thin, scarred, yet alive. Leslie, holding the baby in her arms, eyes too old for their age, but filled with something the jungle could not take. Light. 40 days and nights, 4 children, no shelter, no tools, no adults. And still, they survived. But this story is not about survival alone. It is about the hidden truth of what it means to be human. We like to think we are made of reason and flesh, that the mind rules the body and the body defines existence. But these children remind us of something deeper, that within us lies a puzzle, a mystery of many dimensions, the body, the mind, the soul, the spirit, the awareness that observes it all. The body comes from the earth. It grows, it breaks, it returns. The mind is its invisible twin, a system of logic, memory, and dreams. The soul is different. It is the bridge between the seen and the unseen. It is what cries when the body bleeds, what hopes when the mind despairs. And above them all, there is something else, a silent witness, the consciousness that knows itself alive. The jungle stripped them of everything but that. No walls, no words, no illusions, only being. And in that raw space between life and death, they discovered what we have all forgotten, that survival is not just a physical act. It is a spiritual awakening. When they were finally carried out of the forest, people called it a miracle. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was the universe showing us what we truly are. Not creatures of comfort, but fragments of something eternal, each carrying within us the power to endure the impossible. Because the jungle is not just a place, it is a mirror. And when we face it, when we face darkness, despair, and loss, it shows us who we really are. It shows us that we are more than bones and fear. That deep within, beyond logic and language, there is a pulse that will not stop beating, a light that refuses to fade, a consciousness that says, I am still here. That is the secret of being human. That is the truth, hidden in the story of 4 children and an endless forest. That is the puzzle we all carry inside, unsolved, mysterious, beautiful. The human puzzle is not meant to be explained. It is meant to be lived, felt, endured. Because every one of us, in our own way, is lost in a jungle, searching for meaning, for hope, for light. And just like those children, if we listen closely, if we trust the faint voice within, we will find our way out. Maybe not unchanged, but alive, always alive. Thank you for watching Shadow Quest. If this true story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories that explore the depths of the human spirit. Stay curious and stay alive.